Well, here we are at our local grocery. We're going to take a tour around, see what new products are out there and any new trends to observe.
Let's get shopping.
Let's go. Back in 2003, Barry Schwartz wrote a book called Paradox of Choice. And in it, he talked about the proliferation of choices in our lives, but he talked a lot about in the grocery store how many choices we have. And just looking at the soup category alone, there are 230 different varieties of soup. And then if you say, oh, I want chicken soup, you know, there are 30 varieties of chicken soup. So there you are, perplexed. Do I want more noodles, less noodles, more veggies, less sodium? What is so important to me? And you would think, this is great because I'm going to get exactly what I want. But what it leaves you with is this psychological stress of, am I making the right choice? And then when you get home, you have this buyer's remorse about, should I have gotten the one with more noodles now? I don't know. I don't think retail is doing it to lessen the psychological impact and stress that all of these choices have been causing us. But there is a retail rationalization going on, and we're seeing retailers cutting. Wall Street Journal reported by about 15% the numbers of SKUs that they're carrying, and they're doing it because they're focusing on what's delivering value. And so that's put a light on a lot of these different things. And so whether that is at the retail level, rationalizing, we're also seeing it going on at the manufacturer and the licensor level. Which licenses, which products are delivering the most value to our consumers?
And that's happening with big licensors and small. The largest licensor in the world with $40 to $50 billion of retail sales is the Disney brand. It's Disney and its family of brands. 3 years ago, with great fanfare, Disney announced a major partnership in licensing with the Kroger company, where Kroger is going to launch literally hundreds and hundreds of SKUs under the exclusive Disney Magic Selections line. Kroger did that, from produce to frozen products to meals, etc. But at the same time, Disney started licensing its same brands in the same food categories to the same manufacturers to sell in other retail channels. That didn't sit very well with Kroger, so this year Kroger has quietly unwound its program. At the same time, however, Disney continues to roll forward food and beverage as its largest growth category. And now you see still a lot of wellness, Disney trying to own its franchise with moms owning. We love it when a brand always incorporates what's unique about it, the Mickey Mouse ears, into products that are better for you for kids and a mom feel good about.
Yes, and while Disney made that move, Albertsons Safeway actually picked up a Warner Brothers license. So just because this program is out of Kroger, it'll be interesting to see how Warner Brothers and Albertsons Safeway incorporates that into their line. Elsewhere, we see some long-standing licenses. Since the mid-90s, Frito-Lay has been co-branding their barbecue potato chips with Frito-Lay, with Casey Masterpiece. And they've recently shed that license. And what we're seeing is that even strong, long-standing licenses like the Casey Masterpiece, Lay's, you know, if it's not driving the return that they need, they're shedding it. And when you're a powerhouse like Lay's, I think they have established themselves so credibly that they don't necessarily need the license, and they can make the better margin on the product by shedding it. At the same time, there are some really long-standing licenses like the Popeye spinach since the 1970s that continue on, and particularly on players that need a license to give themselves a distinct advantage in the marketplace.
Right. A great example of a major license that's been reconfigured dramatically in the last year or two is Starbucks brand licensing and ice cream, Frappuccino, all kinds of products. Over 10 years ago, Starbucks, when it was at the peak of its national expansion and popularity, licensed Dreyer's ice cream to come out with Starbucks coffee-flavored ice cream line. Quickly became the #1 coffee-flavored ice cream in the country. Dreyer's was bought by Nestle. In the last year, Starbucks again reconfigured that license, which was originally a joint venture. Starbucks had so much bargaining power at the table, it was able to actually own a piece of that deal. In exchange for licensing with Unilever, the #1 global ice cream player, Starbucks structured it as a traditional license. At the same time, Starbucks, which owns Tazo Tea, did a triangular license with PepsiCo, Unilever, to license and market Tazo ready-to-drink tea, took that opportunity away from Kraft. So especially among the big companies, everyone is trying. Right now, there are no sure things. Every company's trying to rationalize and make sense of exactly the right deal that's going to do best at retail and with consumers. We've talked a lot about the recession and the impact on food and beverage licensing. While supermarket sales are holding steady, one industry that's really suffering in the recession is restaurants and restaurant chains. We see an immediate impact of that in the world of licensing. For many years, we've been talking to restaurant chains, whether they're franchised or not, about licensing, and typically they've wanted to resist licensing either because their franchisees didn't like the idea of competitive sales in supermarkets, or they just were growing too fast to be worth bothering with licensing. That has changed a lot in the last year, and we now see a virtual explosion of restaurant brand licensing in the supermarket and elsewhere. One leading example actually has been very successful for a long time is the Cinnabon brand. We're going to hear a little bit more about that in our webinar, so we won't talk in detail, but they've done a tremendous job of owning the flavor cinnamon, which is universally loved, and connecting it with their great brand.
Another brand that we wanted to mention is Dunkin' Donuts. The Dunkin' brand, Dunkin' Donuts brand, for those who didn't grow up in the Northeast, is as much a coffee brand as it is a donut brand. This was started under P&G and then divested to J.M. Smucker. In the first year alone, which was a little over a year ago, it generated $200 million in sales. So a great successful new product, licensed product introduction.
And that's a great example too of how P&G was not able to grow its coffee business under the Folgers brand,
right.
But when it licensed a beloved brand like Dunkin' Donuts, it immediately exploded in sales. So the difference a great brand can make. The brands that are really succeeding, the restaurant brands, are the ones that have been licensing for a while now. TGI Fridays is one of the most best known and most successful in food licensing. Started, probably 10 years ago with a license to a relatively small company called Anchor Foods for frozen appetizers. A tremendous benefit for Fridays to own its appetizers at retail. Anchor Foods managed to then sell itself to Heinz, which now markets these products, sells hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year. TGI Fridays has also supported another fast-growing company in Venture Foods. Started as Poor Brothers with snack food, now sells over $150 million a year at retail in TGI Fridays branded snack foods.
And interestingly, I also just read about another restaurant brand, if you will, Jamba Juice, and Venture has picked up that license. Is going to be coming out with smoothie kits. Elsewhere, we saw for sort of restaurant-style food that you can prepare at home, General Mills has licensed Romano's Macaroni Grill. The entrees, I have to say, look quite good, but when I was reading the side panel on sodium content for the chicken Alfredo, I think I might know why it tastes so good. It had 610 grams of sodium, but who knows? That could be the same experience that you get in the restaurant, so they're continuing at home. Yeah.
Something has to make it taste good. Another, you mentioned Adventure Foods has also had a great success this year with the launch of Burger King licensed snack products. Another example that has undercut, there was always the assumption that restaurant brands had to be nationally known before they could license successfully. Marie Callender's is a great contrary example. Marie Callender's has only 130 stores nationally. It's owned by a private equity fund. It's actually much bigger in the supermarket than it is in restaurants. ConAgra sells literally dozens and dozens of SKUs, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year of Marie Callender's meals and dishes. And American Pie LLC owns dozens of pie, frozen pie SKUs in the frozen aisle for Marie Callender's. So the example of this, you don't always have to be the best known restaurant chain, but what's always true in food and beverage licensing is a very simple fact that sometimes people forget. The product just has to be great. And ConAgra and American Pie, like these other licensees, have just done a phenomenal job of making really good product. And so people know Marie Callender's as much as a supermarket brand as a restaurant brand.
Well, let's continue our shopping as we head off to the next area of the store.
Great.
Stephen was just talking over in the other aisle about TGI Fridays and their license with Venture. Interestingly, restaurants like TGI Fridays also license brands into the restaurant locations, and for many years now they successfully have had the Jack Daniel's Grill. Jack Daniel's has successfully licensed into several product categories, including barbecue sauce with Heinz, mustards, marinades, charcoal. Now building on that success, Completely Fresh Foods has a line of pre-marinated meats that are available in your grocer's meat case. It's interesting to see how they continue to leverage that sort of mellow flavor of Jack Daniel's and an ever-growing portfolio of licensed food products.
There's a lot of interest among other licensors in this category of tray-packed meats and other meat products. We have other clients and know other companies that have come very close to licensing meat products. We haven't talked much about quality concerns and recalls, but at least one very big company we work with decided, basically left that opportunity at the altar because of ultimately concerns about whether it could really control quality in any refrigerated meat product that's not, even if it's cooked beforehand, given the concerns of what we've seen in recalls. Jack Daniel's biggest competitor globally is Jim Beam, and Jim Beam is also giving Jack Daniel's a run for the money in the supermarket through two major licenses, one with Tanasi Food, which licenses jerky as well as flavored sunflower seeds for Jim Beam. Jim Beam's other big license, which has been outstanding for over 20 years, is with Vita Foods, which again sells their barbecue sauce, steak sauce, marinades, and rubs. One of the other benefits for spirit brands licensing into food, we happen to be in a supermarket where it's illegal to sell beverage alcohol products except for wine and beer. This gives these brands a chance to play in the supermarket where they legally can't even appear with their core product. They have concerns about responsible marketing, but it's a great way for them to build their consumer franchises where they can't sell their own product.
Here's another new product that came out this year. It's Hillshire Farms Miller High Life beer brats, and for a product that's typically cooked in beer or frequently cooked in beer, this is sort of a nice marriage of the equities that sort of surround that usage occasion. And so these are actually pre-cooked brats, pre-cooked in Miller, so they take less time to cook, which when you're sort of in a party mood, this helps speed things up. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how spirit and liquor brands continue to leverage and extend into these categories, which I think are probably viewed as a little bit more socially responsible than some of the other products that have been criticized for targeting underage users over the years.
Here we are in the natural and organic section of the supermarket. There's obviously been a huge amount of growth in this category over the last decade. The recession has complicated it a little bit more, however, though, because while people still want to eat well, everybody wants to be thinner. At the same time, a lot of people have lost jobs or they have less money to spend on food. At the same time, we're dealing with an explosion of obesity. But basically, I think what that means at this moment in 2009, people really just want products that they feel good about buying and eating. Sometimes that means indulgence, sometimes that means better for you, sometimes that means healthy and organic. But it's a little bit of everything right now, not so much the pure kind of let's just eat great food, healthy food all the time. So we see some examples with that. Obviously, moms are still very interested in how to feed their kids well and have convenience. A product we launched for a client of ours this year is Chiquita brand of frozen smoothie mixes, all fruit, great healthy product, rolled out nationally this year, and something that we think really answers a need for moms and families across the country.
And here's a product that's really targeted to moms. It's the Crystal Light Frozen Pops. So Crystal Light, a beverage that has been known for delivering low-calorie, great tasting refreshment, is now doing it in a frozen form. Really targeted, hitting a white space that hasn't really been spoken to in frozen novelties as well as it could be with their frozen novelty product.
That's great. Here's another really interesting story on a number of fronts. Fiber One is a brand owned by General Mills. Fiber One started exploding in growth over the last couple of years. General Mills itself, I think, was a little surprised at the fast growth. What they were really taking advantage of, I think, unexpectedly, was the tremendous growth of the baby boomer generation. We've been hearing about this for years. We're now actually finally seeing it, where the average baby boomer is over 50, concerned about eating well, but also concerned about their health. Obviously, increasing the amount of fiber in their diet is a major concern for anybody, but especially as you age. So as Fiber One started seeing its own sales growth, General Mills started extending the brand. This is not a licensed product. This is General Mills' own Yoplait brand with Fiber One included. But General Mills has now successfully launched Fiber One through licensing into a number of other major programs. A bread and muffin program. The bread has multiple lines of fresh bread products with fiber added. The other one is dairy products, whether it's a low-fat milkshake or cottage cheese with liquid fiber added. So I think we're starting to see an interesting trend in the supermarket of products. Baby boomers have always felt they could eat their way to health. And so the supermarket is a great place for them to get the food they love, but also feel they're making themselves healthier and are going to live longer lives as well.
Next, we're going to talk about Andrew Weil and the Weil Foundation. He has really been about promoting integrative health, really mind, body, soul. How can you be a healthy individual inside and out? And through licensed product, this one here is the Goji Moji bar. And through their other licensed products, they've actually donated over $1 million to the Weil Foundation to help continue the promotion of integrative medicine.
And he's got vitamins and supplements and cookware, all kinds of products to really
Origins,
have a healthier...
beauty care. It's a really robust line of products that
Right.
he is licensed into.
Well, you know, I realize as we've gone through the supermarket today, we've really talked about food and beverage products. Obviously, what we haven't talked about is the supermarket sells a lot of other products where you see a lot of licensing, whether it's health and beauty aids, whether it's readers, glasses, sunglasses. Another huge growing product category in the supermarket, not for human consumption, but as pet food and pet products. The pet industry is now larger than the entertainment industry in the U.S. One product we saw launched in the last year was Rachel Ray's own dog food called Nutrish. Rachel, and it even includes a little bit of extra virgin olive oil or Rachel Ray's famous EVOO. It'd have to. Launched by Ainsworth Pet Nutritionals. This was an interesting story because a company that was actually formed to start this license agreement and now actually identifies a goal of launching other premium pet brands into the sector. You know, we don't know whether this or any other new licensed products are going to succeed, but something we believe in, obviously at IMC, is the supermarket is going to continue to be an exciting place for brands to grow through licensed food and beverage products. There's always a chance for new products. There are always new companies starting, and we think that consumers are going to continue to fall in love with the brands they already know and love through new food and beverage products.
Thanks for joining us on our tour of the grocery. Look forward to seeing you next time.